friend of mine has recently started picking up some locum shifts along with her NHS shifts, and she asked me if it was worth opening a limited company. In our house, I have both a limited company as well as a sole trader. I am a sole trader, and my husband's a dentist. He works under his limited company. So both of us are working in the NHS, one as a sole trader and one as a limited company. And I know the pros and cons, when it makes sense and when it doesn't. And I'll explain this to you. There's two big reasons that help you decide, and then there are several smaller reasons as well. The two big reasons is, one is if you earn over 50k or under 50k. If you earn over 50k, then no, it will not make sense. So your 50k is not just your locum work, it's your NHS wage as well as your locum work put together. If you earn over 50k, then maybe yes. There's several other questions you need to ask yourself before you ultimately decide. But if you earn under 50k, then certainly the hassle of opening a limited company, it does not make sense having a limited company. The second big thing that you need to be aware of is if you actually need that locum pay to run your bills month to month, if you can leave it away for a certain time. I'll tell you what to do with the limited company money in this video, but if you can lock it away for a certain period of time and do not need it for your month-to-month expenses, only then it's worth opening a limited company. The reason being is to understand the dividend taxation. Our dividend taxes are slightly different to income tax rates, but it sits on top of your income tax. So this is the basic rate, taxes, higher rate and additional rates, salary bands, and the income tax band. As we all know, dividend taxation is slightly different. The basic rate of dividend tax is slightly increased this year from 2026-27. This financial year is increased to 10.75%. As a higher rate income taxpayer, your dividend taxation is 35.75%, and as an additional taxpayer, your dividend taxation is 39.35%. So all of us who have limited companies take dividends after we've paid our corporation tax. If you're a basic taxpayer, to withdraw that, you need to pay 30% of taxes, whereas if you were within the basic tax threshold, you'd only pay 20% taxes on it. But also, if you're a higher rate taxpayer or an additional rate taxpayer and you needed that money for your day-to-day income, you'd pay much higher taxes. So 35% of dividend tax plus your 20% tax. That's much higher than the 40% or the 45% that you would pay just being a sole trader. So then what can you do with the money that is actually in the limited company? You can use it to offset your expenses. Say you go on a course, or you buy some additional equipment, or you buy a laptop that you require for work, or a phone that you require for work. So all these things can be offset as a business expense. So that is one way you can use the money from your limited company. The other thing is to get specialist insurance like income protection insurances and things. It becomes very tax efficient to get income protection insurance within your limited company. But you need an insurance broker to source it for you. You can't just go onto a comparison site and get a limited company insurance product. You have to go through an insurance broker. Also, you may be able to claim some work expenses like traveling to and from work, not your regular place of work. So if you pick up an extra shift at another trust, you can get mileage costs to the trust and back home. So that way is another way you can claim expenses from the limited company. Another very big popular way, and that's what we use in the family, I manage my husband's books, so he pays me a wage and I'm within the basic tax threshold, so he pays me a wage. So if you have someone in the household who can claim a part of the income, then that becomes quite tax efficient. You can't just pay them away. They should prove that you're doing some work for the company, and then they can be paid as an employee from the company on a month-to-month basis. Also, the directors can get £500 dividend allowance tax-free, so that doesn't sit within your tax bands. It's just £500. It used to be much higher, £5,000 and £2,000, but now it's reduced to £500. It's hardly a benefit of a limited company, but it's there in case you want to take some money out of this limited company tax-free. You can also invest the money within your limited company. A lot of people make a subsidiary limited company and transfer their money from company A, their locum work money, into a limited company that works with properties, and they can buy to let properties within their company. That buying investment property is a very popular way. Another popular way, topping up your private pension, or if you have a spouse working for you, topping up their private pension is another very good route of utilizing the money within the limited company. Also with electric cars, not just any car, if you buy an electric car, it's quite advantageous buying an electric car via your limited company. Now, if you're sold on the idea of a limited company and think it's worthwhile for you, there's 4 other big things that you need to be aware of. First is you do not get NHS pension. So if you do extra work and get NHS pension contribution towards an extra work, if you get the payment via a limited company, you will not get your NHS pension contribution. You can either get your NHS pension contribution or the tax advantage within a limited company. You cannot get both. The other thing is, I do not understand this fully. Some jobs are within IR35 and some are not. So find out from your HR and the people around you. Find out if it is outside IR IR35, then the payment can be received via a limited company. If it is inside IR35, then it cannot. It has to be as a sole trader. Also be aware there is a lot of admin burden working with a limited company. So if it is only a small amount of locum shifts that you're doing by a limited company, then it's perhaps not worth the admin burden. I recently did my husband's book. Like I said, I do manage his books for him. It took me about 3 to 5 hours of work to submit all the paperwork and all the things required for his end of tax year returns. It's not a lot of work, 3 to 5 hours, but it's good to have that in mind before you open a limited company. Another thing you need to be aware of is accountant's fees. The accountant's fees is between £1,000 and £2,000 that you'll need to pay for managing your books and things. Limited company accounts has to be submitted by an accountant, so you'll have to pay an accountant. If it's a very cheap accountant, you do a lot of the work yourself. If you want to delegate a little bit more, you're looking to pay between £1,000 and £2,000. Limited company can be tax advantageous for the right reason. Remember, you lose your NHS pension allowance. You will not get your NHS pension contribution, so that is a big weighing factor. And the £1,000 to £2,000 of accountant's fees is a big weighing factor as well. So bear all this in mind before you decide whether you want to open a limited company or not. You may also be interested in this video about the NHS pension, flaws of the NHS pension. There's big flaws of the NHS pension. Hope this helps. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.